How do I look? Huh? In the light? Am I as scary as I usually am? It's one of those things, huh? Last couple of days, there's been some new stuff going on. I am concerned that right now somebody has me working some digital account connected to the medical records of somebody that was killed in a wartime situation where, as a member of the press, he was shot in a specific area and was not able to get medical treatment to time and bled to death. This has been happening a couple of times in the last year. It would have been 20 years ago, a few months ago, that he died. The 20th anniversary of his death would have happened a few months ago. The thing is, he was shot in a very specific place. And what happens is something will occur, including I'll make a transaction and, buy something because I'll have some money. And then all of a sudden, after I make the transaction, it's like there's this intense change to my energy resonance. And then all of a sudden, I will get a very piercing pain in the same part of my body. I understand he was shot. Now, this isn't the only kind of time this happens. I'll make a purchase, some manner, and then it's like all of a sudden I got these pains in my body. It used to happen with my mother's medical records. My mother had certain parts of her body. She had bones that were broken, and she had bones that were replaced. So after I would make a transaction, all of a sudden it's like I'm working some sort of digital account connected to her medical records, and my body starts hurting in the places where she had medical injuries. It's not my medical record. It's somebody else's. And I already know they have this economy where they take old medical records and they sell them as derivatives. I'm pretty certain my old medical records are right now being used in Russia. And despite whatever my political perspective is, or what my political commitment is, or what I understand is actually going on, literally in connection with what happened in my life and what's happening in the lives of other people and how they're connected, including as I presented in court arguments. If somebody sold my medical records to Russia. And when they sold my medical records to Russia, Russia did something with my medical records. Not so dissimilar, by the way, from what the United States does when it coordinates transactions of this sort. See, at some point, it was determined that medical records, after a certain amount of time, were allowed to be sold as a financial product, including in the form of derivative agreements that other countries were expecting to be able to purchase as part of long-term arrangements they had with the United States, including countries that are otherwise sanctioned. And they take those derivatives and they do something with them. But the same thing happens where in the United States buys other people's old medical records. And what do they do with them? Why would they want me right now resonating with a murdered Palestinian journalist after I went and bought a women's multivitamin? See, this is the ironic thing. Somebody happened to be very generous today. I got enough money to actually buy a women's multivitamin. I've been hoping to do this for a while, being on the streets, trying to get my nutritional needs met. I bought a damn woman's multivitamin. But my understanding is somebody else was speculating I was going to buy something else. And so as soon as I got the money, they already bid on trying to set that transaction up to be a confirmation of me doing something that they're trying to say is what, right? See, the thing is, we're in this area right now where I understand a 20-year judgment lien that was put into effect in connection with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has flipped. And we're in the 20th year of what happened in Israel and Palestine that is being transitioned as some sort of bridge to what's now going on in Russia and the Ukraine. And the thing is, I'm supposed to just accept the flip as is, right? And I'm Russian, and I got to realize that there's this huge Ukrainian resistance to the tyranny of Russia, and I'm supposed to surrender, or I'm supposed to divest, or I'm supposed to recognize how sinful I am, and so I'm supposed to pay sin taxes by actually engaging in vice, i.e., I'm supposed to go out and do things that are amoral. I'm supposed to do things that are actually dangerous because the understanding is somebody already bid me being on the street and being exposed to the opportunity to commit those kinds of crimes and expecting me to actually commit those kinds of crimes so that they can vindicate themselves for having already stolen from me and framing me as if I committed those crimes because they anticipated they could make some exigent circumstances argument that given the opportunity, I do it. So they were justified stealing what they did, and they were justified taking my life, and they were justified creating all of these completely unconstitutional, illegal contexts where they redistributed all of this stuff to other people who use it in crime, very high crime. But they were justified doing it to me because, among other things, well, I was predisposed to do that anyhow. This morning I woke up and presumably somebody's going through some academic review where they had some kind of academic project. It was part of a thesis. And there was a misrepresentation of my relationship to their thesis and to their academic work. And so whatever their thesis was and whatever they were trying to prove, somebody gave them permission to use me as some form of test subject in the social experimentation attendant with their thesis. And my understanding is there's significant disappointment. The problem is they've known this for over 5 years now. And they keep trying to apply more pressure with the understanding that they're not going to relent until somehow somebody is able to successfully prove that they've created me as this socially engineered paradigm they base their theoretical premise on. Now, the ironic thing is, if I'm correct, the theoretical premise about which I'm speaking is one that I actually had a hand in helping to develop at the onset, right? That the theory was not something isolated, and it's not something completely removed from me, that I actually was involved with the individual or individuals that were a part of putting together that theoretical premise. So you know, my intention was not to put together a sociological analysis so that then I could identify people, lie to them, steal from them, try to frame them, and then allow them to be tortured to prove that certain techniques I had analyzed other people applying or other people engaging that led to other people engaging in certain kinds of behaviors, including criminal behaviors, including behaviors that could be considered to be crimes of war. Well, that there are certain people that I can make into those kind of war criminals if I'm given the access and I'm given the opportunity. I can create a relatively normal person, highly functioning as a sexual degenerate. I can take somebody that might have a capacity for absorbing a lot of information and being able to process it, including in multiple systems of thought at the same time concurrently, and turn them into a compulsive drug and alcohol consumer after I manipulate the social and environmental conditions of their lives so that they don't even have anybody to have a conversation with. I can compel somebody to engage and adopt and actually participate in and express themselves as some sort of religious extremist after I subject them to protracted religious persecution, even if it's from a religious perspective that's not their own or that they have no formal association with. See, these are theories some people came up with, saying that I've seen what's happened to people in my community, and my understanding is that people in my community are being targeted and are being attempted for some kind of recruitment or some kind of torture in order to try to manipulate them into these kinds of behaviors that then other people can use to justify criminalization, which also means they could justify funding law and order. But the big fucking hypocrisy here is that in the last 6 years, there's been no law and there's been no order. The police don't do their actual job. They refuse to even acknowledge that by law they're required to know what securities fraud is, including in the damn manual. They're required to study and to know to be a cop. And yet, on a daily basis, they keep trying to frame me as somebody that's engaging in hardcore drug use on the street and refusing to pay whatever the compensation arrangement any number of people think they're owed because I won't engage in acts of prostitution. And meanwhile, I'm also supposed to be in a state of alert with an understanding that there's actually low level activity going on another level, understanding that this country has been, through some people's perspective, justifiably targeted as a potential target in connection with a declaration of war. It's been going on for a while. We've refused to admit that what we've done have created the material conditions which would necessarily allow for another country to say they're justified declaring war against us in order to preserve their own way of being. I mean, it seems surreal. On a daily basis, all I deal with is people looking at me like I'm some street woman, and the people on the street, well, nobody on the street really seems to be much interested in those things happening at a high level. But at the same time, why am I, and one of the few times I'm able to actually get access to enough cash, and I know why, when you think about what's actually happening in this time frame related to what the Treasury is doing. You know, cash management. How did I manage the cash I got today? So here's the problem. I'm supposed to have a lot more fucking cash today. I'm supposed to have my own house today. I'm supposed to have my own keys. I'm supposed to have my own documents. I was supposed to be in the process of finalizing an audit I already started. I was supposed to be refining arguments I would have already submitted to the court. But how can I submit another motion to a court when I already know what they did on April 1st of this year? I hear somebody else is in default because they bid on my case. And well, there is a crisis because I haven't filed a motion. And the problem is they already knew it was extortion. And they already knew what it would mean if I did file a motion before they did what they were already by law required to do. That shooting in Thailand is specifically because of a default on a surety connected to a lapsed 3-year timeline. They don't want to say it that way. They're going to come up with any number of other justifications, sociological, psychological. They're going to have behavioral sciences in on it. They're going to have police and criminal psychologists in on it. Who is going to expose the specific nexus of corruption that intentionally refused to move forward on actual criminal charges because they were trying to compel illegal underwriting on securities, including insurance-related activities? And in the meantime, try to frame people by trying to force them into drugs and prostitution. I know. There are countries at war. I know. There are societies of people that understand that they're in a process of being culturally, if not actually ethnically, genocided. But we also have that happening right here in this damn country. I am not going to apologize that I did not take that $5 I got today and go buy drugs. I'm not going to apologize that I finally got enough money to buy a fucking multivitamin and I did it. But I'm also not going to apologize because I already know what you were expecting me to buy with it. That your little cops and your little Department of Homeland Security analysts trying to kiss ass with those people in fucking D.C. that didn't do their fucking job. We're hoping they could lay down their next bid on that outlay process on. And that's a real shame. Because I actually need that too, and you damn well fucking know it. A lot of us fucking need that, and you damn well fucking know it, and you should have already fucking provided it to us without trying to frame us to be fucking junkies so you could discredit us and steal our lives. You're not doing a very good fucking job with the life you stole.